Chapter 1. Footprints in the Snow. In late March 1922, deep in the Bavarian woods, the Gruber family's remote farm, Hinterkaifeck, stood half-buried in snow. It was the kind of place people only visited with a purpose. Andreas Gruber, 63, lived there with his wife Cecilia, their widowed daughter Victoria, her 2 children, 7-year-old Cecilia and 2-year-old Joseph, and a newly hired maid, Maria Baumgartner. Just days before the murders, strange signs emerged. A newspaper from another town was found inside the house. No one had brought it. Footsteps in the snow led from the woods to the farm, but no tracks led back. Keys went missing. Footsteps were heard in the attic. The former maid had quit, saying the house felt haunted. Andreas told neighbors, but refused help. Some thought it was paranoia. Others wondered if something truly sinister had begun. Then, on March 31st, everything went quiet. Days passed. No one left the farm. Mail piled up. The children were absent from school. When neighbors finally came to check, what they found was more terrifying than anyone expected. Chapter 2. The Barn of Death. When locals forced their way onto the property on April 4th, it was eerily calm. Livestock had been fed. The dog was alive. Smoke curled from the chimney. But no one responded. The air was heavy, silent. Inside the barn, they made a horrifying discovery. Andreas, his wife, Victoria, and little Cecilia were all found beneath hay, their skulls crushed by a pickaxe-like weapon. In the house, the maid Maria and toddler Joseph were also found dead. All had been killed days earlier. It wasn't just the murders, it was what came after. Someone had remained on the farm. They fed the animals, ate meals, slept in beds. Neighbors had seen smoke from the chimney days after the murders, meaning the killer had lived among the dead. No valuables were taken. The phone line was cut. The killer made no attempt to flee quickly. They weren't afraid. They were patient and chillingly comfortable. The sense of intrusion was absolute. Chapter 3. No Way Out. Investigators arrived and were immediately puzzled. There was no sign of forced entry. Whoever committed the murders knew the farm and the victims. The barn murders were methodical, lured one by one, murdered quietly. No one screamed. No one escaped. Suspicions fell on neighbor Lorenz Schlittenbauer, who had a complicated history with Victoria and may have fathered Joseph. He helped discover the bodies, yet opened doors without hesitation, even moving bodies. Locals thought he was too calm. Some whispered he knew what he'd find. Yet no hard evidence connected him to the scene. He was questioned, released, and lived out his life under a cloud of suspicion. He even sued journalists for defamation, but the rumors never stopped. Police dug deeper. Victoria had withdrawn a large sum of money. Joseph's paternity was contested. The family was known to be reclusive and troubled. Andreas had a reputation for violence and incest, but motive remained a mystery, and in time, public interest faded. But something about Hinterkaifeck refused to be forgotten. The land carried the weight of what had happened there, a wound in the landscape that time could not close. Chapter 4. Whispers and Theories. Over the years, dozens of theories emerged. Some believed Victoria was planning to flee with Joseph. Maybe she'd blackmailed someone. Others blamed Schlittenbauer, driven by jealousy or rejection. Still others believed a vagrant had committed the crime randomly, but stayed out of madness or perversion. The murder weapon, a modified mattock, was eventually found hidden in the attic. This suggested the killer knew the home intimately, and may have stalked the family for days beforehand. They may have waited for the right moment to strike. No valuables were stolen. The scene wasn't rushed. Whoever did this felt no urgency. That level of control scared investigators most. The killer could have been living with the family before the murders. The attic footsteps, the vanishing keys, the growing dread. None of it was coincidence. Police revisited the case multiple times, in 1923, 1951, even the 1980s. Each time, nothing new emerged. Leads ended in dead ends. The official file was closed, But not everyone stopped asking questions. Urban legends sprouted. Books speculated wildly. Paranormal theories entered the narrative. Hinterkaifeck became both crime scene and ghost story. Chapter 5. Legacy of Shadows. After the murders, the farm was demolished. Locals didn't want it standing. It felt cursed. In its place, a modest shrine was erected, but people avoided the area. The sense of unease lingered for decades. Hinterkaifeck has become one of Europe's most infamous cold cases. Books, documentaries, podcasts, each tries to answer the same question: who killed the Gruber family, and why did they stay afterward? What disturbs most isn't just the violence, it's the intimacy. The killer didn't just murder, they inhabited. They fed animals, slept, lived among corpses. They might have watched the family for days. They could have been in the attic when the Grubers laughed, argued, prayed. It was psychological domination. Even now, people say the land feels off. No birds, no animals, just a breeze through hollow trees. Sometimes hikers report hearing footsteps in the woods. Some say you never walk alone near Hinterkaifeck. And that makes the mystery even more terrifying. Not that someone killed an entire family, but that someone watched them long enough to know how. Chapter 6. A Century Without Justice. In 2022, the case reached its 100th year. A German forensic student group attempted to reinvestigate with modern profiling techniques. They concluded it was likely someone from the community, perhaps even known to the family. Their prime suspect? Lorenz Schlittenbauer. But he had died decades earlier, and no physical evidence remains. All police records were destroyed in World War II. What's left are photographs, transcripts, rumors, and fear. The idea that the killer was never caught isn't just unsettling, it's haunting. Because someone stayed in that home, walked its halls, slept in its beds. Not in panic, but in peace. Someone was comfortable among the dead. They weren't rushed. They may have cooked meals, used the washroom, sat at the kitchen table. This wasn't just murder, it was possession. And for all we know, they may have done it again. Somewhere else. Maybe they were never done. Chapter 7. The Farm That Breathes. Hinterkaifeck has become more than a murder scene. It's a story passed down, a wound that never closed. Locals still speak of it in hushed tones. Some avoid the area entirely. Others leave flowers anonymously. And maybe that's because the truth is too close. Hinterkaifeck was not killed by a monster from the woods. It wasn't evil from the outside. It was someone familiar. Today, no physical trace remains of the house. But in the forest nearby, children still dare each other to find the clearing, to listen, to feel watched. They say the wind whistles differently there, because the farm never truly died. And maybe, neither did the one who took it. Maybe, just maybe, they found another place to call home. And maybe, they're still waiting.